Welcome everyone. This is Chelsea Jones with the Illinois Worknet team. This is the pre-layoff workshop for the Career Education Corporation. Before I hand things over to your presenters, I want to go over a couple of housekeeping items for you that you can use throughout the webinar. On the left side of the screen, you'll see a chat pod. Now this is what you can use to ask any questions you have to our presenters throughout the session today. And any other comments or questions you have, you can feel free and put those in the chat. Directly below the chat, there is a pod called Files. And now this has our Illinois Worknet layoff flyer, which has a link to the layoff page that I'll show you at the end of the webinar that has all of the presentations that you're going to be seeing available for download. And then in the middle of your screen, you'll see the PowerPoints that each of our presenters are going to be using to relay information needed for you to use in your, throughout your layoff. And then above that, you'll see a pod that says just the welcome, and it also has the phone number. In case you have any problems hearing via your computer speaker, you can call into our conference number at 1-866-821-1611. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Annie Dorr with the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Chelsea. As Chelsea mentioned, my name is Annie Dorr. I'm with the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, and I want to welcome everyone to our webinar today. We are here for the Career Education Corporation, what we call a pre-layoff workshop, which is designed to provide you with information about resources that you may or may not know exist that are in place to help you through this transition period in your life of moving from your position at Career Education Corporation to whatever your next opportunity is. Throughout the webinar, we're going to have different presenters talk to you about several things that we think will be of interest to you. The first one, which is really usually what people tend to not know about, is the job retraining and job search services that are available to you. So we'll kick off with Pilar Trejo, who is from the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership. She'll talk to you about services that you can access at what we call Illinois Worknet centers, which are located throughout the state. Chelsea referenced our online portal, illinoisworknet.com. They work hand in hand, and we're hoping that you'll be able to walk away with this webinar with some information about what your next steps might be. To kick us off, let me introduce Pilar Trejo from the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much, Annie, and thank you, Chelsea. Especially good morning to our Career Education Corp employees that are online today for this webinar. As Annie said, I am with the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership, and you'll notice on your screen there it has our name. I'm going to walk you through some information about how the partnership can assist you through this transition. So looking at the next slide, I want to talk a little bit about who the partnership is, and from now on I'm going to refer to the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership as the partnership. I am a business relations specialist here at the partnership. We are the second largest local workforce investment area in the country, next to New York. We are a large nonprofit that pretty much assists people with finding jobs. That's exactly what we do. We receive funding from the government up to like $50 million to assist pretty much two clients, the job seeker and then the employer. We pretty much, for this area here in the Cook County region, we pretty much oversee the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. That's called WIOA. It stands for, the acronym is WIOA. And through the work that we do in the Cook County area, we handle 49 different agencies throughout an area that goes from Chicago Heights to Evanston to as far north as Arlington Heights. And in those centers, you'll also note that there are 10 workforce centers, which are large, comprehensive centers where people can walk in and, you know, look for employment, whether it's their first time finding a job, whether they're re-entering the workforce after a long time, or that whether they're in a situation similar to your situation, you know, they've lost their job for whatever reason. We also have 2 satellite offices and a business intermediary. And all that means to you is that we have several locations throughout the Cook County area to help. We have pretty much helped over 140,000 people per year, and that's people walking in and receiving very intensive services, and people that walk in just to receive services, maybe in and out to look up information on our job boards, etc. So, you know, the workforce board here in this area is here to serve you. And I want you to know something before we move on to the next page, is that the partnership is here to help you, and yes, we get the dollars from the government, but these are your taxpayer dollars being put to use. This is your money that is being put to use to help people find jobs. And now that you're in this situation, let's see how we can help you. As we move through the slides, we're going to talk a little bit about what those services look like. But if you look here, you know, the goal of and the purpose of this webinar is to give you information and resources because you are now a dislocated worker. And that's a term that we give folks that have been, you know, for no reason of their own, let go of from their employment. And our programs through WIOA are programs that help prepare people to re-enter the workforce. We also do a lot of training. Training is important because you may be looking for new skills, whether it's related to the job that you're in now or you want to get skills for a new career. So a dislocated worker has a lot to provide that employer in the area or maybe outside of your area, but the point is that training is one aspect, an important aspect of the services that we provide. Now the next thing, if you look at our slide here, I mentioned dislocated worker, and I just pretty much want you to know, I've mentioned this earlier, that the funding comes from the Department of Labor, okay, and very important is that these are your taxpayer dollars being put to use. The WIOA grant also provides employment assistance, placement, and then information regarding sector training. So that's what's important for you to realize, is that what we're talking about today is about helping you find a job, whatever services you need to get a job, whether that's preparing you, getting your resume together, etc., and then training. Okay? Now the last thing is, we as administered by the State of Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, and it's facilitated through us, through the partnership. Dislocated workers are eligible for these services anywhere within the Cook County region. And I mentioned dislocated worker. Just want you to look at the definition of what a dislocated worker is, and you know, this is who our WIOA services are for. They're for individuals that have been laid off or terminated, or who have received notice of a layoff or termination due to some type of plant closure or a massive layoff through a receipt of a Warren notice. Some employers will even send out a letter to their employees. Point is, you here at the Career Education Corporation are a dislocated worker. It's of no fault of your own, and you're eligible for the services that we're talking about today. You are unemployed through no fault of your own, and you're eligible for unemployment or unlikely to return to a previous occupation of your industry. So those are the definitions of what a dislocated worker is. As you reach out to services through our network, it's okay for you to say, I'm a dislocated worker and I'm interested in getting back to work. And that terminology really means something to the folks in our industry as they help you. So let's talk about what that means as far as helping you. What are the services? Now, we have several services. On the page that you're looking at right now, you'll see it says Career Services and Resources. There are many services, but basically what I mentioned earlier is we have two clients. We have the job seeker and the employer. As a job seeker coming to one of our centers, you are eligible to go through some type of an assessment. We need to know how it is we can help you. We need to know what your skills were in the past and what it is that you'd like to do moving forward. That may involve some type of questionnaires or online assessments to help us gather and really put together a package that tells us where you stand in today's labor market. So through that, one of the career advisors, because we have career advisors at our locations, they can assist you by looking at what jobs they should be helping you with. Possibly you need to have your resume updated. Possibly you need to be on LinkedIn and you've never done that before. There's so many different things about the job market today, whether you've been working for the last 15 years or the last 5 years or the last 20 years. Definitely the way to look for a job has changed. So our career advisors need to see who you are on paper, do you have something along the lines of a resume, and how they should be packaging you in today's labor market. So through an assessment, through understanding, giving you a better understanding of labor market information, that's how we prepare you. Okay, so some of the other services you'll see is information for training provider information. If you want to go to school to upgrade your skills, we will give you information with approved schools that we work with. There's support service information depending on what type of support services you're looking for, whether it's bus cards to get to work or some type of mileage reimbursement or child care support services. We have partners that we work with. Of course, our unemployment insurance claim information, we work very closely with the unemployment office. They are definitely our partners. And there's several workshops at each of our centers designed to help you with different topics. I mentioned one earlier. It might be resume writing. It may be interviewing workshops. It may be a LinkedIn workshop. Okay? So those are some of the career services and resources. Not to mention, if you're an individual that wants to use our resource room, which is at the very top of the slide that you're looking at, we do have free computers, fax machines, copying services. Consider our resource room your office away from home. And moving forward with the career services and resources on the next PowerPoint, once we get an idea of what it is you're looking for, we continue to do a comprehensive skills assessment. And we will do that one-on-one career counseling. Once we realize, this is what you want to do, you're on board with this, there's a plan that is developed between the job seeker and the career advisor. And that plan is really going to be a living will as to what it is we're going to do to help you find a job. What are those jobs? What type of skills do you need? You'll see on the fourth item there, it says resume and cover letter assistance, interview preparation, etc. Depending on the individual, everyone is different. Some of you are going to be, okay because your resume is fine and you need to move on to the next step. Other of us have to start out by looking at that resume again and maybe developing 2 resumes because you want to do different jobs. So the relationship with this career advisor is very important. These type of services, career coaching services, are free. All of our services are free. Once again, this is through your taxpayer dollars. On the next slide, which is very important and of major interest to a lot of dislocated workers, is training services. Now, earlier I had mentioned that as a dislocated worker, this is of no fault to your own. This is a transition that you're going through. I'll tell you, many folks that are in this situation do not even know that the services are available. They don't know that there are centers and that there's people there ready to help. One of the aspects of not knowing is not being ready and making yourself available for these services to best prepare you. For example, training services. If you're not aware that we can help upgrade your skills, that's something that, if you don't know about this, you're not going to put yourself in the best situation possible. So with our training services, we offer up to $8,000 for individuals that need to upgrade their skills, whether it's a credential, whether it's a course. Our courses are dedicated to courses that are high sector, high demand, courses with institutions that have been approved by us and, are approved institutions. Everything from universities to community colleges to proprietary schools. We're very careful about the list of education and institutions that we work with because we want our job seekers to be in the best possible situation. So if you are an individual that's looking at that, this voucher of up to $8,000 is something you can use to upgrade your skills. And some people are not going to use it. Some people are going to go straight into another job, and that's fine. But other of us have that option available, and that's something that you would be able to discuss with your career advisor. There's other types of training that you'll see on the job training, which is a package. It's a business workforce package that our staff at the centers that work with businesses, they deal with this with companies directly. If you do not, for example, have all the skills that the employer is looking for and you're a registered customer with the particular center, what they'll do is they'll speak to the employer and say, to help offset, let's say it's me, Pilar's skills gap, what we'd like to do is reimburse a portion of her salary while you train her, but you must hire her. This is a very, very sought after business package that employers like because they usually need help with training, and it works for everybody. It's a win-win. The job seeker gets a job, has an opportunity to be trained by the employer, and the employer gets somebody that becomes a valuable addition to their team. So among some of the other trainings, you'll see entrepreneurial skills, job readiness skills, adult education and literacy, customized training. It just depends on what the job seeker needs. What does our dislocated worker need to get an edge and get their foot into the door? And we're also keeping in mind, obviously, the business, our other clients, to make sure that this is a good marriage and everybody wins. The last thing I want to show you is Illinois Worknet. This is a very, very important tool. And it's a really good way of summarizing everything that I've talked about in the information. I know you're going to get a lot of information today, but the beauty of Illinois Worknet is that Illinois Worknet has a website. And at that website, you can find out about, workforce services. Everything I've discussed, it helps you pretty much set up your own plan and start moving forward. You can do this from the comfort of your home at any time of the day, any day of the week. It's a very good place to get started and get your job searching gear. You will, as Chelsea mentioned at the beginning of our presentation today, you will be able to access your company page. It's a specific company page for a Career Education Corp. You'll see a circle with a triangle. You'll click in there, and then you'll be able to find your company and look at all the information that's available to the dislocated workers at Career Education Corp. And this next slide shows a little bit about the different type of services that you can find on Illinois Worknet's page. And I really like this because it shows the different aspects. It's like a holistic approach to finding a job. So that first circle that you see on the page here with the little, it's almost like a triangle in the middle, that's the image that you're going to be looking for, and you would click that image. And then obviously once you find that, once you click the icon, you'll look for your company name. But what I really like about that is if you look at the next circle, it talks about connecting benefits and services. Illinois Worknet understands that finding a job is a holistic approach. You may need to find some support services for your family member if you're caring for maybe a parent and you want to look for home care services, or you have a child and you need to find out about child care services. Now that you're not working, what's available out there, what's available to you as a dislocated worker. This is a wonderful tool because it's looking at you being able to get a job and hold your job, but in a very holistic manner. The next circle you'll see with the dollar sign is looking at financial management planning, which is a very important thing to do now. You want to look at, your expenses and what that's going to look like in the next few months. and what it is, what type of jobs you'd be willing to take based on your plan. So these are templates, there's information already there for you. The next thing is obviously exploring career and training opportunities, which is the fourth circle down. An immense amount of information, videos, assessments, takes you directly to schools and gives you information about the schools and the courses. What does the labor market say about certain careers if you're looking to get into those careers? So you are not going into this blindsided. This is an amazing tool that you should use. The next circle is, the fifth circle over, is getting organized. What I also like about Illinois Worknet is that it is your online portfolio. You may not be carrying this portfolio everywhere you go, but you'll have access to it 24/7. And it organizes your resume, it organizes the information you've looked into, so you can maybe go back and look at it again, whether it's information on services, financial preparation, and of course your career planning. It's a great place to keep all your information online. And then of course, jobs, looking for jobs. What I like about this is you punch in the information about the jobs, and you could look at jobs that are in your area or maybe outside your area. Maybe you're somebody willing to drive an hour away, or you can only do 30 minutes away, or you're on public transportation, or you're looking for certain jobs. It is a very, very good tool, and it also will show you related jobs, job fairs in your area. It gives you so much information at your fingertips. And last but not least, of course, this is all about achieving your goal. And that's what Illinois Worknet is. It's a wonderful, wonderful tool. If you'd like to use it, let's take a peek very quickly. If you go to the web page that you see on this PowerPoint, www.illinoisworknet.com/locations. You'll see that WIOA services are all over the state of Illinois. You, depending on whether you're relocating or you live in a certain area, you put in certain information and you could narrow down what's the closest center to your home or the center that you want to go to in a particular area, and it will show you all the information of the services they can offer. So please, I would not hesitate using Illinois Worknet ASAP. I also would not hesitate coming to one of the centers. Give them a call, find out what the first step is, which is usually an orientation, and then from there you can get started. Do not wait until you're on your third or fourth month of unemployment. I would get started now. The last thing I want to say before passing this on is that the WIOA services are, this is really a national preparedness program. Everything I talked about today, if you live or are planning to live outside of Cook County in the state of Illinois, there are WIOA services just as I described there. And if you're planning to move out of the state, there are WIOA services in each state. So please know that these services are a national preparedness program. Thank you so much, and I want you to know that on behalf of the partnership here and LWIA 7, Local Workforce Area 7, we would love to have Career Education Corp employees as part of our talent pool and love to be able to help you through one of our centers.
Okay, great. Thanks, Pilar. This is Annie again. I want to turn it over to Lisa Schromek, who is from the U.S. Department of Labor. She's going to talk about a few things that people are typically concerned about when going through a transition, and that has to do with your employee benefits regarding like retirement and health care. So go ahead, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Annie. Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa Schromek, and I'm a benefits advisor here with the Chicago office for the U.S. Department of Labor's Employee Benefits Security Administration, or EBSA for short. And EBSA enforces ERISA, or the Employee Retirement Income and Security Act of 1974, which offers protections for both health and retirement plans sponsored by employers and unions in the private sector. And since job loss affects benefits, I will provide an overview of the applicable provisions just to help you out in making the best possible choices with respect to health and retirement for your current situation. And we will begin with health coverage and end with retirement benefit reminders. With health coverage, there are several options to consider, and in the next slides we'll go over these, which include HIPAA special enrollment rights, Cobra, young adult coverage considerations, and also the new federal health insurance marketplace. HIPAA, or the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996, is the law that has historically offered protections to participants switching from coverage under one plan to another. And while this requirement has gone away for the purposes of protecting against pre-existing condition exclusions, HIPAA certificates of creditable coverage, which were typically issued as a reminder or a proof of your prior coverage, are still being provided by some plans as a way to kind of give you proof of your coverage and let you know officially what date your coverage has ended. So the HIPAA certificate also lists that date that your active employee benefits ended. And keep in mind, this can be as soon as midnight on your last day of employment, or it can continue through the end of the pay period or the end of the month if your coverage was already paid through a later date. And my understanding is that this is the case for all laid-off employees with Career Education Corporation, that health benefits will actually last through the end of the month of your layoff date. Another provision of HIPAA, as amended by the Affordable Care Act, is that when enrolling in an employer-sponsored group health plan, coverage must be effective no later than 90 days after a new employee satisfies the plan eligibility requirements. And it used to be sometimes employers would let you enroll on the first of the month following a completion of 90 days, and now it can be no longer than 90 days period. So that's something to know. Another provision of HIPAA, which is especially important in this sort of situation, allows someone who qualifies for another employer-sponsored plan but previously declined coverage under that plan to now enroll outside of the open enrollment period following a loss of coverage. And this is called special enrollment. This can be a cost-effective alternative to Cobra. For instance, if the other employer-sponsored plan pays a portion and shares the cost of the health insurance premiums. So you should definitely consider looking into a spouse's employer's plan if a spouse's employer offers one, or a parent's employer's plan if you are younger than age 26. And I'll discuss that in more detail in the later slides. But also know that with special enrollment, with an employer-sponsored plan, coverage must take effect no later than the first of the month after the request is made. So even though you have 30 days to notify the plan, remember to request special enrollment before the start of the coming month if possible to avoid a possible longer break in coverage. Now for Cobra. Cobra is often used in conversation as a plan of insurance or type of coverage, but it actually is the name of a law passed in 1986, which allows you to continue the same group health plan on a month-by-month basis for up to 18 months at your own cost. Because Cobra is a direct continuation of the same plan you had as an active employee, everything about the coverage stays the same, including your proof of insurance card, your doctor or provider network, and any progress you've made towards an annual deductible. Cobra allows independent elections. So if your employer offers medical, dental, and vision coverage as separate plans, you can elect to continue just the medical, but not the dental, or vice versa. I mentioned that Cobra can last for up to 18 months, but know that it may end sooner. For instance, if the employer ends the group plan or completely shuts down, then there is no plan left in existence to continue under Cobra. But assuming the plan stays in place, the one thing that can and usually does change with Cobra is the cost that you are used to paying for the coverage. So if the employer covered a portion of the premium for active employees and then deducted the rest from your paycheck, under Cobra, they can now pass along both the employee and the employer cost, plus a 2% administrative fee. But there are ways to reduce the cost through what is called independent elections, as I mentioned. Just as you can choose to continue a dental plan but not a vision plan, if you have family coverage, you may also choose to continue coverage for just one family member rather than the whole family, and then the amount that you pay will be reduced accordingly. With Cobra, you will receive a notice in the mail with all of the information you need to make up your mind, including the monthly cost and where to send the payments. This notice must arrive to you within 44 days of your loss of coverage. And the Cobra election notice packet will either have the return address of your employer if they administer Cobra in-house, or it may have a return address of a third party that they've hired to take care of this compliance for them. And that will usually be a payroll service company such as ADP or a specialized Cobra service provider such as Cobra Source or Cobra Serve. So you'll also then have 60 days to make up your mind about Cobra, which starts from the later date of the date that your active employee coverage has ended or the date of the Cobra election notice. And you cannot be required to send payment with your election. If you do elect Cobra, your initial grace period for payment is 45 days. So depending on how long it takes you to decide within your 60-day window and then pay within your 45-day window, you could end up owing something like 3 months of premiums up front if you kind of take your time to decide. But after that, things kind of settle down, and going forward, your payment is due by the first of the month in which you receive the coverage. But it is considered within grace period if your payment is received within the 30 days of that month. Definitely if you have a procedure scheduled or a doctor's visit coming up, just know that the sooner you elect and pay, the sooner your coverage will be reinstated as active under Cobra, and you'll avoid this temporary interruption where it looks like you're not covered, and then looking back after it's reinstated, it looks like you've been covered all along. So there is that administrative time delay to keep in mind, and if sometimes you just can't help the administrative time delay. So if you do have something coming up very soon, just be very open with your doctor about it. Ask them maybe to hold off on billing your insurance. Let them know you're in the process of electing Cobra. Otherwise, you may have to submit out-of-pocket costs for reimbursement once your coverage shows up as active again. And it is actually possible if you maybe are interviewing, you have some job prospects maybe in the works, to maybe use this notice and election time delay under Cobra to your advantage. You may want to hold off purposely on electing your Cobra because you're not sure if another employer's coverage may take effect, and it's perfectly okay to do that since Cobra is retroactive. So if any of you are younger than age 26, you will want to pay special attention to the information on this possible additional option. So as I mentioned a little earlier, thanks to health insurance reform, one of the new requirements is that employers now allow adult-dependent children up to the age of 26 to join or remain covered on a parent's plan, even if they are married, financially independent, not living with their parents, and not full-time students. And sometimes, even if they are eligible to enroll in their own employer's plan, unless the parent's employer's plan has something called grandfathered status, then that last one would be the exception. But adult-dependent children may be enrolled during a plan's open enrollment period or during other special enrollment opportunities, such as a loss of other group coverage. And the employer or insurance company that sponsors the parent's plan can provide more details. Another alternative that we all have now is shopping for coverage through the new health insurance marketplace, or Obamacare. it is still possible to apply for financial need-based coverage directly through the state or to purchase individual coverage directly through an insurance company or broker. But people who apply through the marketplace benefit from a screening process that automatically evaluates you for financial need-based coverage provided through the state, or for premium assistance or tax credits that help offset the cost of marketplace plans. This slide now goes over some basic facts about shopping for coverage in the health insurance marketplace. There's several ways to apply. You can do so online, by mail, by phone, or in person. And there's the phone number for you. When you have a loss of coverage, obviously you have special enrollment on the federal marketplace if you do so before signing up for Cobra. Otherwise, you'll have to wait until an open enrollment period, which typically runs from the 15th of November through the 15th of February of the following year. So open enrollment for the 2016 coverage year will actually run from November of 2015 through February of 2016. Otherwise, you'll have to wait until the 18 months of Cobra has been exhausted, or the full amount of time under Cobra has been exhausted, and then you will have another special enrollment right because you've lost coverage. Simply stopping Cobra doesn't give you the ability to have a special enrollment right on the federal marketplace. And as I mentioned, the marketplace will tell you if you qualify for free or low-cost coverage available through Medicaid or CHIP, or even premium assistance or tax credits. And Illinois residents actually can also visit another website called getcoveredillinois.gov, or they can call them at 866-311-1119 from Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And my understanding is that the Illinois website is helpful for screening someone in terms of qualifying for financial assistance, while the federal website, healthcare.gov, provides details about the coverage options available and is helpful for comparison shopping between plans or determining if your doctors are in network for any of those plans. As I mentioned, very important information to keep in mind when you're thinking about replacing Cobra with marketplace coverage is that it can only be done during marketplace open enrollment, even if your coverage hasn't run out, or you have to wait until your coverage runs out, or sign up before you sign up for Cobra as an alternative to Cobra. Because the penalty here would be that if you ended your Cobra coverage and then applied for a marketplace plan during open enrollment, you could qualify for tax credits and premium assistance. If you kind of sign up for Cobra and change your mind and then sign up for the marketplace, even if they would let you on, then you would not qualify for this assistance. There also has been some recent clarification that if, for instance, someone enrolls in the marketplace medical plan and their former employer offered medical and dental coverage under separate plans, you can enroll in the dental only for Cobra without affecting your eligibility for marketplace financial assistance on the medical plan. As long as you do not enroll on another group medical plan for Cobra or otherwise, you can keep the subsidy that you may qualify for under the federal marketplace. But know that the marketplace does offer dental coverage, so this is worth considering as well. But if you've met an annual deductible for a plan, or if your doctor is in network only for the plan you have, of course, Cobra is worth considering. Medicaid is a state-based program that you will automatically be screened for and directed towards if you qualify based on income in applying for marketplace coverage. And the nice thing about Medicaid is that you can apply for and enroll in it any time of year, and if you qualify, your coverage can begin immediately. With the marketplace coverage, one thing I didn't mention is that they generally have a cutoff period of the 15th of every month to get covered by the 1st of the following month. So if you ever end up applying from the 16th through the 30th or 31st of a month, it's going to be a 1-month gap before your coverage would actually take effect. Another program you will automatically be screened for is the Children's Health Insurance Program, or CHIP. This is low-cost health coverage for families with income above the limit for Medicaid, and it covers parents and pregnant women in addition to children. Each state does have its own rules and qualifying guidelines, so you'd want to visit the website insurekidsnow.gov or call the toll-free telephone number if you're interested in more information. Finally, we would like to offer some brief but important retirement plan reminders. As a benefits advisor at the Department of Labor, I get calls from many people that are getting close to retirement age, or they've applied for Social Security benefits and they get a letter, and they end up calling us because they've realized that they don't know how to get in touch with a former employer about applying for retirement benefits, or they may have forgotten about it and now they're trying to track it down, and it becomes a very stressful thing. And so regardless of the type of retirement plan that you may have, it is a great idea to make sure you always keep your address updated with the plan if you move, so that you can continue to receive plan mailings and the plan knows how to find you when it comes time to pay benefits. And so that's something that's kind of counterintuitive for a lot of us, where you think once you've parted ways sometimes with a company, you may not think about keeping in touch, but it's definitely a good idea. Normal retirement age for full benefits under a traditional pension plan and even for a 401k would be 65, but different plans offer different options. And so just like health plans, retirement plans must be administered according to written rules. If you don't already have a copy, or you've misplaced, or you don't remember receiving it, you may want to ask your human resources or benefits person for a copy of the written rules. And the formal name for this document is a Summary Plan Description, or SPD for short. And so the two main types of plans that we may be familiar with are, like a traditional pension, which is also sometimes called a defined benefit pension plan, and a 401k, which is also a type of defined contribution plan, since you may be contributing your own money into an account. And with that type of plan, the plan rules may include additional information about rolling the money over into either a personal IRA or a new employer's plan, if that's allowed after you separate from service. Definitely refer to the plan rules and see if that's okay. Or you can just leave the money with the plan even if you're no longer with that employer, especially if you like how it's invested. And just make sure you keep your address updated so you're always getting your statements. If you do choose to have a distribution, if the plan rules allow, just know that there is a tax penalty on top of the regular tax that the IRS has special rules for. I believe if you're younger than age 59 and a half, there's an additional tax penalty. So if you can afford to do so, it's definitely best to roll it over and keep the tax protected status of those retirement plan savings. And now I'll just leave you with some contact information for my office. We're happy to answer some questions today. I don't know if we're waiting until the end of the presentation or the end of the seminar, but you can always call our office and speak to a benefits advisor such as myself with this toll-free number. We also have a lot of information on our website, and we also take web inquiries now at askebsa.dol.gov. And you would want to visit our website for the brochure entitled Retirement and Healthcare Coverage Questions and Answers for Dislocated Workers, which is available in both English and Spanish. That'll cover all of the information that I discussed today. But the PDF of this should also be available for download for you from the files pod of this webcast. And that concludes my presentation for today. I want to wish everyone good luck, and I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Okay, thanks a lot, Lisa. Before we move on, talking about unemployment benefits, I just want to acknowledge the question from Teresa in the chat pod regarding some questions related to 401k and job searching within Career Education Corp. And I noticed your HR department has posted their phone number there. So those questions are kind of particular to how Career Education Corp operates. So I would encourage you to address those questions to them. And I would also like to introduce Eva Prius. Eva is our representative from the Illinois Department of Employment Security, IDES. They are the agency within the state of Illinois who administers unemployment insurance benefits. So go ahead, Eva. Thank you.
Thank you, Annie. Good morning, everyone. Like Annie said, my name is Eva Price, and I'm with Illinois Department of Employment Security, and I will explain the unemployment filing process. The unemployment insurance is a program that is administered by the state, but is paid fully by the employers. So workers do not pay into an unemployment insurance system. In order for anybody to be eligible, you have to have at least 2 quarters of wages in what we call a base period. This example that you are looking at right now, it just shows what's required for a person to be eligible for the minimum benefit. I will go over that a little bit later on. Basically, what it says that you have to have at least 2 quarters of wages to be eligible for unemployment. How much you're going to be getting, what your weekly benefit amount will be, that basically is determined by the wages that you were making, by your earnings. The base period that we are looking at right now, the time frame that we are looking at right now, is the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th quarter of 2014 and the 1st quarter of 2015. So you have to have at least 2 quarters of wages during that period of time to be eligible for unemployment. We can also look at something that's called in the alternate base period, which is a little bit more complicated. This is something that we will look at if you would just start working, let's say, in January, and we would have to look into the last quarter that just ended. That's called the alternate base period, but all of that depends on, obviously, it's basically on your depends on the wages. The minimum benefits that the state of Illinois pays is $51 for individual. That is a weekly benefit amount. If you do have a non-working spouse, a spouse that did not work in the state of Illinois in the last 18 months, that will give you additional $15 per week, which takes you over to $66 a week. You can also claim a child that is under the age of 18. And if we are still talking about this minimum wage, you're getting additional $26 per week for a dependent child. The maximum benefit is $426 per individual, additional $80 if you have a non-working spouse, or $154 if you have a child under the age of 18. You can claim one or the other. You can claim a child or a spouse. You cannot claim both. In order for you to be eligible, you have to be unemployed, you have to be able and available, and you have to actively seek for work. You also need to register with IllinoisJobLink.com, which is our state's website, and I will explain that in a second. When you file your claim, your first week of unemployment is considered to be a non-payable wait week, and I will explain that a little bit later. And you also must certify every 2 weeks, which we'll talk about that once we get to the unemployment filing process. To start, we always encourage everybody to go online, and our website is provided on this slide. You can file online 24/7. You can file the very next day once you become unemployed. As long as you're separated from the employer, you can file for unemployment. If you don't have internet access, if you wish to come into the office, you're more than welcome, but we will still ask you to file online. We do have staff that is assisting people with that. And you'll find the nearest office by going to this IDES website that is, again, available at any time. There is also a claimant services number that I want you to please write down and keep it, because eventually you are going to have questions once the claim is processed. And this is a number that you need to call to get answers to any of your questions. What you will need is obviously your Social Security number and a driver's license. So when you register, if this is going to be your first time that you're going to be filing for unemployment, you're going to have to register, and that's where the driver's license comes in. You're going to have to provide the driver's license number and several other things that you will be asked to do. You will also have to have the names and addresses of your last employers, especially in the last 18 months. And the days that you worked for these employers. So if you worked on a short-term basis with an employer, please count the actual physical working days that you have been with the company. You will also need information regarding any pensions that you might be getting, whether it's from this employer that you're going to be leaving right now, whether it's from a prior employer, anything that you're receiving. Please make sure that you provide us with that information. Also, if you are planning on applying for Social Security, we have to have that information. If you're claiming your spouse as a dependent, obviously your spouse's name, employment status. Again, if the spouse did not work in the last 18 months in the state of Illinois, you can claim a spouse as a dependent. At that point, of course, we will need your spouse's Social Security number. Or if you're claiming a dependent child, the child's name, birth, and a Social Security number as well. Once you file the claim, what happens next is you will receive a letter from us. It's called Unemployment Insurance Finding Letter, UI Finding Letter, which will have the information such as the wages that were reported to us by your employer, quarterly wages. It will also tell you how much you are eligible for, your weekly benefit amount, and any dependent allowance if that applies. It will also have a payment type. The form of payment that the state is using is a debit card, which is going to be sent to everyone that's filing for unemployment. However, if you would prefer to get paid via direct deposit, you have to request that, and you can do that right away when you're filing for unemployment, or you can always go back to IDS's website and request and provide that information and request that the money should be directly deposited. Your first certification date. This is what I said I will explain a little bit more. I will tell you what that means. This is a date when you claim your weeks of unemployment. So that letter that you will receive from us, the initial letter that you will receive, will have that date for you. It's going to be either every other Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. You're going to be certifying every 2 weeks on a specific day. So the letter will have a specific day for you to certify. Please remember that if you are assigned to do that every other Monday, you will not be able to, if you're busy on that day, and if you're interviewing, whatever the reason might be, you will not be able to certify on Tuesday and Wednesday. Those are for other people. So please remember that you have to certify on your assigned date or Thursday or Friday of the same week. Thursday and Fridays are open days. So if you won't have the chance to certify on your assigned date, please remember it's either your assigned date of Thursday or Friday. Please don't try to go into the system and certify on Tuesday or Wednesday. You will not be able to. Benefits are paid for the calendar weeks of unemployment, and please keep in mind that our week starts on Sunday and ends on Saturday. So when you're certifying, when you're claiming your weeks of unemployment, you're always certifying for the past 2 weeks. This is how you're getting paid. And if you do not certify, no payments will be issued. The first week of unemployment is always a non-payable wait week. So even though you're going to be certifying for the past 2 weeks, when you do, you will only get paid for 1 week. just this first payment would be for 1 week only. The best way to certify, the best way to claim your weeks of unemployment is online. It is the easiest and the fastest. I think it's a very clear how to do it. It literally takes about 3 or 4 minutes to do that. All you're doing is just answering a series of questions about those last 2 weeks. Were you able and available for work? Were you actively looking for work? Has anything changed? Did you move? Those are the basic questions that you are certifying for. If you do not have access to the internet, if this is something that it's difficult for you to get into the computer, please remember that there's another option which is called a telesurf, and you have this number provided on the slide that we are looking at right now. But if you do have an option, I would strongly suggest please do it online. It's just much easier. Both certifications, whether online or through a telesurf, are done between 5 a.m. and 7:30 p.m. You cannot certify past that time. So please keep that in mind, and please remember that even though it is on internet, but the certifications are done through 7:30 p.m. You must be able and available, and you have to actively look for work. And you have to provide us, well, you have to keep a record of any places that you are calling. If you're applying online, if you are networking, please keep a record of that, and we'll show you the, I hope that the slides do include the work search records that we are providing. And please remember to keep that. If you are unavailable for work during any of those weeks that you are certifying for, if you are on vacation, or if you must stay at home for a sick child, please say that, please make sure that you provide us with that information. So when the question comes in, were you able and available for work? If you were not, you have to say no, and then the next question would be how many days. So if it's just 2 days that you are taking vacation, just say, I was not available for 2 days, and you will not get paid for those 2 days. You are only getting paid when you are able and available and when you're actively looking for work. That's the state's requirement. And like I said, any records, any documentation that you have regarding your work search, please keep a record of it. We do have the work search forms on our website. You can create your own spreadsheet if that's easier, but please keep it for your own records. Please do not send it to us unless we ask for it. The state does run random audits, so if you are requested to bring that in, please do, and once you have all the information that we are asking for, I'm sure there won't be no problem. Part-time work. You can work part-time and collect benefits. One of the reasons why you're certifying every other week is to provide us with the information if you actually worked. You can work part-time and make 50% of what we are paying you, and no deductions will be taken. So let me give you an example. If your weekly benefit amount is $400, 50% of that is $200. That's gross before any deductions. So if that's how much you're making when you certify for the benefits, one of the questions is, did you work? You have to say yes. How much will you be getting paid? You'll say $200. That's 50% of what the weekly benefit amount is. No deductions will take place. With that example, if you make $250, that $50, which is $50 above the 50%, will be deducted from your benefits. So instead of $400, you'll receive $350. And please remember that you need to report the wages in the week that you earn them, not when you get paid. So please keep a record of that. This is extremely important. Unfortunately, there are quite a few instances when people are not reporting the wages until they actually get paid. Please remember to report the wages the week that you actually got paid. If for any reason, if your wages for that part-time employment will exceed your weekly benefit amount, then the system will stop your unemployment for that week, and what you'll have to do, you're going to have to file additional claim at that point. It happens that you may work on a regular basis, let's say 10 hours a week, and but one day that part-time employer will ask you to work 50 hours. Obviously, that will exceed your weekly benefit amount. Please remember that once you enter an amount that is greater than what the weekly benefit amount paid by the state is, you will then have to file a new claim. And one more thing that we have to remember is that the weekly amount that we are looking at when it comes to partial benefits is only your weekly benefit amount. Please do not combine any dependent allowance to that because that's not what we are looking at. Dependent allowance is a separate benefit that is paid accordingly. The payment options that I mentioned are debit card, which is sent to everybody. As soon as you file for unemployment claim, you will receive, with that letter, you will receive the debit card. But again, I think that the best option, if you can, is to request a direct deposit. Unemployment insurance is taxable, 5% state and 10% federal. You do have a choice, though, whether you want us to deduct the taxes right away or whether you would pay them later yourself. It's completely up to you, but you do have to pay it at some point. This slide talks about the WIA program that Pilar explained at the beginning of this presentation. I wanted to mention this Illinois Job Link website, which is a mandatory website for you to register with when you are filing for unemployment. And that goes for everybody. This is a website that you need to use on a regular basis to look for work. And again, it says here that if you do not register, you may have your benefits taken away from you. So please remember to do that. Once you file your claim and once you get to your claim summary, the system at that very last page will give you your username and a temporary password for this very website. And please remember, those are two different websites. IDES.illinois.gov to file a claim, to certify, to set up a direct deposit. IllinoisJobLink.illinois.gov. This is a website where you have to go and look for work. So those are two different websites, two different usernames, two different passwords. You do have about a week or so to do that, to register. The only time when you are actually registered is once you post a resume. You have to have a resume posted, and then you need to start using this website on a regular basis, weekly. This website, again, is mandatory for everyone to use. And I guess this is the end of my presentation. Of course, if there are any questions at the end of this presentation, please feel free. I'll be around. I'll be more than happy to answer some questions. Thank you very much.
Hi, Eva. This is Annie again. There was a question in the chat pod. I'm wondering if you can address before we wrap up here. Dan asks, I've worked for CEC for over 14 years. How accurate do the days worked need to be? I think this is in reference to you indicated they needed. Okay.
To number of days, absolutely. Yes, it is a little bit of tricky question, sir, but if you put in, let's say 150 days, as long as you worked more than 30 days, that's basically all we care about. So 150, 200 days, that's fine. You've been there for 14 years, sir, so that's an employer that will be responsible for your unemployment.
Thank you to everyone for joining us, and I'm going to turn.
Annie, and thanks to everyone who presented today. Before we all jumped off, I just quickly wanted to go over how to access the Illinois Worknet Layoff page for your company, where you can download all of the presentations that were used in today's webinar. I'm going to pull up the flyer that is available for download in the pod below the chat pod. If you click the title, you will have the option to download. And I wanted to show you that because there is the link that will take you directly to your layoff page when you click on it. So I'm going to click on it, and it's going to open. I'm just going to navigate there the long way, but you can download this flyer where you can click the link, type in the link, or if you have a mobile phone, you can scan the code here but I'm just going to go there on Illinois Worknet. In the layoff assistance, I clicked on company layoff search, and from here, I can start typing in the name of the company, and I'm going to click on it here. And now this is the page specifically for you being laid off from the Career Education Corp. As you can see, there's a message board here, which is have the message for the pre-layoff workshop that you are currently attending. We will also add the link to this recorded session because there was a lot of information that was gone over today, and so you have the option of rewatching any part that you want to see again to get that information. And then if you scroll down to the bottom of the page, the layoff packet, if you click on this, you can see it just opened up with all of the links that have statewide resources, and at the bottom are all of the PowerPoints that were used in today's presentation: unemployment insurance, the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership, and the Employee Benefits Security Administration, which was your health insurance. And then I also want to just scroll back up top before everyone leaves and just show you the service locations tab. This is going to show you the Illinois Worknet centers in the Chicago Cook County area that you can call or go to for further in your job search and getting back into the workforce. And so that's all I wanted to show you. And thanks again to everyone who could attend. And we will post this recording on that layoff page today so you can watch it and download any of those materials. And have a great day, everyone. We're going to end the webinar.